Hello?
Hello?
There you are. Hello, it's Audrey.
Audrey, just
there
hold
you
on
are.
for a second. Yeah, I'm here. Just hold your horses for a moment. I'm just going to open the meeting. I waited a little bit because our president, Gerard, has issues accessing the link. I assume that.
Oh, okay.
I assume nobody else had an issue with that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. But long
I'm on
story
the
short,
phone, though.
let me start the meeting. Today is October 10th, 2020. It is now 12:02. You are a guest of the Rotary Club of New York, Club number 6, founded in 1909. We are so delighted that you can join us today. We have a very exciting program with representatives from C-SPAN. C-SPAN stands for Cable Satellite Public Affairs Network. So many of you probably have never heard the long version of it, but we are so very delighted to have Joel Bacon today present, and also Jenae Green. Before we do that, we have our pianist, Audrey, play America the Beautiful. Thank you, Audrey. Thank you very much, Audrey. Thanks for helping us every week to have a very nice opening to our meeting. Okay. Now I'm also delighted that we are able to have our president on the call. First of all, again, welcome to everyone to this very exciting meeting. We are just about to start it, and without further ado, I would like to introduce our president, Honorable Judge Gerard Schriffen, who will now introduce our C-SPAN speaker, Joel Bacon. Gerard?
Thank you, Andreas, and welcome everyone. Good afternoon to our October the 8th luncheon meeting for the Rotary Club of New York, called the Host Club of America, Rotary Club number 6. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we're not able to have an in-person luncheon, so we're doing this as a Zoom meeting. Before we begin, I just wanted to address one issue. Without taking any sides in any political contest this year, there was one statement made by one of our candidates that in which the candidate said that the press is actually the enemy of the public. And I think this is one of the most dangerous comments I've heard, simply because anyone who is a student of government or a student of democracy knows that a free press is the most important part to maintaining, the most important factor maintaining that government. And to that end, this afternoon, we have as our guest, Joel Bacon from C-SPAN. I personally, in my career as an attorney, as a prosecutor, as a lead attorney, have gone to get government documents. And C-SPAN I've always found to be a great source of material and resources for information about our government. Mr. Bacon today, who is our guest, actually started with C-SPAN in 2013 as a summer intern, and then moved his way up. Now he leads C-SPAN's community relations team, which seeks to engage students, teachers, civic groups, and public officials, and those people who are interested in politics and government, to share how C-SPAN's infiltrated mission and, unfiltered mission and resources can be used as a window on Washington, and to follow the daily happenings of the federal government. Joel has served beginning as a receptionist at C-SPAN, moving up to a book TV production assistant, traveling C-SPAN representative, and as a producer for C-SPAN's signature call-in show, The Washington Journal. He grew up in an Air Force family and has lived and traveled all over the map, has worked for the past 6 years in Capitol Hill, is now married and lives in Northern Virginia. Because of the fact that this is a luncheon meeting, there are a number of our members and onlookers who are not able to be at the meeting, but fortunately this will be recorded and will be on our website so that everyone will have the ability to pull it up later on this evening or tomorrow. So with that, Mr. Bacon, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I know Jenae was the one that originally reached out, and hopefully I will be able to live up to some of the hype that was, I'm sure, building around Jenae and her presentation. It's pretty much the same presentation. So I will introduce her though. Jenae is on the call. She's going to be helping me out with all of our technical issues. I have a hard time walking and chewing gum sometimes. So that's why we've got Jenae here in the control room, as you can see. So I will go ahead and start our presentation. Hopefully, thank you guys for having us. Gerard and Andreas, both of you mentioning that you are C-SPAN watchers or regular watchers or viewers is a really encouraging way to start off the program. So hopefully, if you're not already, by the end of the program, we'll have a room full of Zoom C-SPAN fanatics. So I'll go ahead and get started. So some of you will remember that television was once 3 just giant networks and a government-supported channel called PBS. And back in 1979, our small network with an unusual name rolled out a big idea that we wanted you to be able to decide all on your own what was important to you. So we opened the doors to Washington policymaking, bringing you unfiltered content from Congress and beyond. Now, in the 41 years since, the political and the media landscape has clearly changed, but we think you'll find that C-SPAN's big idea is more relevant today than ever. And these unprecedented times demand, we think, an unconventional approach to political news coverage. And I'm going to share with you today the ways that C-SPAN, both on television and online, is a powerful media resource, why we're widely trusted, and how we have a wealth of easy to access tools for following the day's events. So this is all to enable you, Rotarians, and everyone to be a better informed participant in our democracy. So it's really importantly, underpinning our nonpartisan coverage of Congress and Washington and the nation's politics is the fact that no government money supports C-SPAN. We're completely funded as a public service by cable and television providers. So we're going to be there for you, and we're going to offer you something distinct in today's media so you can make up your own mind. That's our goal. So before we get any deeper, as I've already introduced Jenae, make sure if you have any questions, drop them in the chat, and at the end of the presentation, Jenae and I will go through those and try to answer any of your questions as we finish up. So without further ado, throughout our history, our democracy has faced many serious challenges, but think with me for a second, have we ever faced so many all at once? We're in the worst pandemic that we've had in 100 years, an extremely volatile economy and job market with widespread social unrest unfolding across the country, and we're in the midst of one of the most consequential fire and hurricane seasons that we've seen in years. And all of this is happening during an historic presidential election cycle. Now, people are looking to see how Washington is going to respond to all of these big events, and I'll show you why C-SPAN should be one of the networks you can turn to see how your public officials are responding to all of these pressing matters, and to see how their actions and policies are affecting you and your community specifically. So C-SPAN, as you'll see, is different, and we are purposefully different. I'll talk about what that means and what that means for you. We'll talk about our unfiltered coverage and the way that we try to help you view today's events and engage with the news and newsmakers in a way that other media doesn't provide. So As you can see, we simply are there to put you in the room where the most important political and policy issues are being discussed and debated. We allow you to watch all of these events in their entirety, not just a clip here or there. So we show you everything so you can think for yourself and you get to make up your own mind instead of someone telling you what to think. So a bit more about C-SPAN, how we're purposely different. We'll look at our business model, our unique perspective on public affairs, and how our mission makes us look a lot different from other media outlets. First off, 4 decades is a long time for a cable news channel. We've been serving the public before CNN or ESPN even launched, and more than a decade before any of the other cable news networks even started. And in that time, we've never veered from our mission, which is a public service mission. We're uncommon in the media because we are a non-profit, independent enterprise. It was the cable and television industry, like I said, which supported and which launched C-SPAN back in 1979, which is contrary to most people's thinking. Our funding is not coming from the federal government. To this day, C-SPAN continues to be funded through fees paid by cable and satellite companies like Spectrum there in New York City. So this funding model allows us to be mission driven rather than driven by by any TV ratings. So I've already mentioned our mission 4 or 5 times now. Let's take a closer look at our mission and how it's carried out day to day by what we do. So first of all, we cover events and the people. Those are the focus. It's the events and the people. All right, can you hear me? All right, sorry about that. So what we do is we provide long form programming. Instead of showing you 10 seconds here or a soundbite there, we show events from start to finish and don't interrupt and don't edit those events, whether that's a 12-hour debate or a 20-minute press briefing. We also try to show multiple viewpoints, giving you a chance to hear from experts across the whole political spectrum, not just one side or another. And they're the ones that provide the perspective and help you better understand the issues. And quite simply, we think that it's not about us. C-SPAN itself is not going to provide any of the commentary that you'll hear on our network. It's the lawmakers, the decision makers, and journalists who are creating and influencing and reporting on the public policy. They're the ones that are going to provide you the perspective. And so we try to stay out of the way and give our viewers direct access to all of these leaders. And we actually invite you to participate in the discussion on social platforms and most interestingly on television by allowing you to call in and share your thoughts or ask your questions on whatever topic is being discussed or debated. If you have not ever in the past called into one of our programs, watch it sometime, pick up the phone, tell us what you're thinking. That's what we love to hear. So that is C-SPAN's mission in a nutshell. And let's see how that mission guides us to what we cover and what you'll be watching on C-SPAN. So first of all, Congress, our mandate from the beginning has been to show floor gavel to gavel proceedings of the House of Representatives on C-SPAN. And in 1986, we added C-SPAN 2 with the US Senate, gavel to gavel coverage. We also covered the committee hearings where all these decisions are being made about issues that affect your life. And it's not just the blockbuster events, but it's the day in and day out inner workings of our national legislature. And we go deep into the corridors of the Capitol to show you briefings by congressional leaders in both the House and the Senate and influencers. As you can see here, the Congressional Black Caucus and the House Freedom Caucus. Now, our coverage of the executive branch includes meetings at the White House with President Trump. We cover briefings from the administration and the latest updates from the coronavirus task force, as well as briefings by many, many other administration officials. Now, we have been covering the president's return from to the White House and what impact that his recent positive COVID test has had on the White House operations and policy implications that it might have as well. So, and though for the Supreme Court, they don't let us have our cameras in the court itself, but we do air audio of major cases, which actually in May of this year, we were allowed for the first time to have live audio of 10 oral arguments. Now, this was a big step for opening our coverage to the High Court, and they've actually allowed us back in to hear more oral arguments again this month, including, as you can see here, 6 cases this week. So we'll continue to air these as they happen, and if you want to find them, you can go to our website at cspan.org, as you can see. And with the recent passing of Associate Justice Ginsburg, we did cover her funeral proceedings, and we will, of course, cover the confirmation hearings happening this month with Judge Amy Coney Barrett. Now, our programming, as you can tell, focuses mostly on what is going on in the federal government, but to provide our viewers more perspective, we often cover state officials showing how they are handling national issues at the local level. Here you see Governor Cuomo. He has been on C-SPAN 161 times discussing issues important to New Yorkers. So we cover a lot of that. Now, beyond the coverage that we have of elected officials, we cover many events of national importance with that same aim of showing things in their full and unedited form. And of course, C-SPAN is well known for our coverage of political parties and candidates as they vie for office. Now, we've been covering the 2020 campaign since its very earliest days over 3 years ago. And from candidate announcements to key primary caucus in states to the candidates' current events. And this actually includes third parties like the Green Party and the Libertarian Party. So our coverage of the complete coverage of the Democratic and Republican political conventions drew some rave reviews. And the primary reason was that we didn't talk over the proceedings. We just covered them like we always do. And we'll continue to show you campaign activities and analysis through the presidential debates, election day, and come January 2021, the inauguration. So as you can see, placing a camera in the rooms where these discussions and debates are taking place is C-SPAN's bread and butter. But in order to provide a fuller context for the decisions being made by our leaders and to get past some of those talking points, we go beyond just coverage of events. We aim to add context through our call-in programs like the Washington Journal, as you can see here, where decision makers and journalists answer viewer questions and discuss what's happening in the news. This is where you can call in and tell us what you're thinking. We also air in-depth discussions with authors through our weekly book TV and Q&A programmings. And as you can see, we cover a lot of New York City-based authors. And on American History TV, which is on C-SPAN 3 every weekend, we feature many unique historical programs and archived footage a lot of the times of important moments throughout our history. So that's really a fun channel as well on the weekends. And of course, we show experts as they are debating all of these solutions to public policy issues during forums at a diverse array of think tanks and advocacy organizations. So there is a lot of discussion about the role of the news media in our society today. And you often will hear the term fake news. And in the midst of all of this, C-SPAN is widely recognized and credited by others as factual and neutral and trusted. As you can see on this chart created by the media watchdog Ad Fontes, C-SPAN ranks at the top for our production of factual content and right in the center for our neutrality. And this has just been our goal for more than 40 years by simply providing viewers a front row seat to our democracy in action and getting out of the way. So for those of you who are familiar, like Gerard, hopefully this programming, this place on this chart probably will come as no surprise. But for those of you who might be a little bit less familiar with us, we hope this provides some credible perspective on our role in the media. So before we take your questions, I've just covered a lot about all of the things that we cover and what we do. Let's just take a moment and see where you can access all of this content. So first, as you can guess, we have three television networks that are dedicated to providing live public affairs programming. That's C-SPAN, C-SPAN 2, and we got creative with the third one and named it C-SPAN 3. You can find us also online at cspan.org, which is our video-rich website with live access to each day's coverage. Everything we cover is then available for on-demand viewing. Our website features a free video library with, as you can see at the top there, over 160,000 hours of programming, and that keeps on growing every single day. Now, all of our programs online, like a UN General Assembly that we'll show here, you can watch that in its entirety, or if you want to do some quick viewing, and we do feature points of interest that you can jump to highlights within the entire event, as you can see. And if you want to make your own clip and you think you have a highlight or a point of interest that you want to share, you can do that too, right there on the website. So our Congressional Chronicle on cspan.org is there to give you a detailed set of information on what's happening in the House and the Senate every single day. And this is where you can find unique pages for every member of Congress with their committees that they sit on, their voting records and bills that they've sponsored, and so much more. So for example, you see this page for your member of Congress, Carolyn Maloney. There you'll find her 1,557 appearances on C-SPAN, which is a crazy number. And this includes her first appearance at a press conference in 1992 or one of her most recent appearances at a House committee hearing. You can also search her appearances for her views on different issues that might be important to you, whether that's taxes or different social issues. And we have a whole webpage also on cspan.org dedicated to the 2020 campaign. And as you can see, if you missed any of last night's debate, you can watch it in its entirety right here on our website. If you want to stay informed on the go and get schedule updates, our C-SPAN radio app is your one-stop shop for a live stream of both our C-SPAN radio, audio from our 3 networks, and if podcasts are your thing, we have some really, really great podcasts on there as well. And if you're on social media, you should be following us if you're on Twitter for our timely content. You can engage with the topics of the days on our Facebook page. You can follow us on Instagram for features and peeks behind the scenes. And you can visit our webpage for even more video highlights. If, like me, you'd like to get your news in your inbox, in your email, C-SPAN also has a variety of newsletters you can sign up for, including Word for Word, which you can see there. It cuts through the daily news clutter and provides you a synopsis of the political happenings that day. And it has a bunch of C-SPAN video in there as well. And we also have our programming guide, which just daily schedule information, and our weekly newsletters. We have 2 of those, one for Book TV and one for American History TV. That's just going to tell you what's going to be on each and every upcoming weekend. So if you're a history buff, you should get that history email. And if you're a book buff, you should subscribe to Book TV. That's my little plug. As you can see, I have my Book TV shirt on. I'm kind of a big fan of what we do there. So you can see all of this great content. We've tried to stay true to our mission at the same time as expanding to serve our audiences in innovative ways with fresh concepts for digital platforms and devices. And as you can probably guess, politicians love C-SPAN. We have these huge archives of videos of them mostly, but who else likes C-SPAN? Maybe even more, our late night comedians.
You're watching C-SPAN. Sorry, I read that wrong. You're watching C-SPAN?
C-SPAN.
C-SPAN.
C-SPAN, yes.
Did you see this? C-SPAN did a live stream of Trump's speech.
It shocked C-SPAN's audience, both of them.
Of course, everybody's interested in the Senate impeachment trial of President Donald Trump, but it's an especially big deal for one group of people, the production team over at C-SPAN.
Okay, guys, everybody in. Huge day. Senate impeachment trial of Donald Trump. I need everyone on their game. All right, hands in, everyone. Hands in. C-SPAN on 3. 1, 2, 3. C-SPAN! Was hoping for a little more energy, gotta be honest. Okay, we're live. In 3, 2, 1, take 2. Nice wide shot, Robbie. I love it. Just keep her right there.
President of the United States,
Okay.
now pending, you will do impartial justice.
This is largely it until about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
And will present the oath book to him for...
You know what? You guys can all go home. I think I got this.
Hold on, Joel, we can't hear you. Try to repeat yourself really quickly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So hopefully you enjoyed those videos. Hopefully you see that we try not to take ourselves too seriously, and that we can't have a good time, even if we're laughing at our own expense. So, but as the C-SPAN team is working together to provide this service to you all, it's the comments from our viewers, everyday Americans, influencers, and leaders who value C-SPAN that actually strengthens our resolve to remain purposefully different.
That C-SPAN is a mirror of our country. They are unique in this brilliant model, and all they do is hold up the mirror so we can see ourselves.
So I say this every time I'm on. For your view, you know, I've spent 20 years in that building behind you there covering it, and I could not do that job without C-SPAN. It is, for your viewers, you know, as somebody who spends his day watching this stuff, they're all seeing it exactly as we see it inside that building. It's an amazing resource, so God bless C-SPAN.
Hi, good morning, and thank you for being available for the public to give us direct, unfiltered, unopinionated news.
First, I'd like to say I've been watching you guys for over 35 years, and I want to thank you so much for being on my cable stations. It's a pleasure when I watch your congressional hearings and watch the whole thing. And then I watch the news and how they report it and see how it differs. So I want to thank you guys very much for being one of the few stations out there that gives us real information.
Let me just also echo what so many of your callers have said. I want to thank C-SPAN. It is so refreshing to be able to turn on the television and watch an event. And I watch Republican events too, and to be able to do it without a lot of talking heads tell you what you've just seen or to interpret what was just said. I think the American people are smart enough to figure things out themselves without having everybody tell them what they heard or what they just saw or to interpret what was just said. So I want to thank C-SPAN.
So there you have it. We know that we're not going to be probably your only source for public affairs news, but we do hope that our time here together today helped show you how we can be at least an important complement to your other news sources. And we really do appreciate your time and hope that you've learned a little bit more about how and where C-SPAN fits into the modern media landscape. And that's just by following the principles of our big idea to let viewers decide all on their own what's important to them, by opening the doors to Washington policymaking for all to see, by bringing you unfiltered coverage from Congress and much more, and by serving it to you on any of the devices that you go for news and information. So we think, and we hope that you agree with us, that C-SPAN's big idea is more relevant today than maybe it's ever been. So, all right, I know I have seen some questions come in, and we'll be happy to answer some of those. So appreciate you guys, all of your undivided, I'm sure, attention for us today.
One question that I see up here, Joel, how has C-SPAN modified its long-form programming or long-form approach to stay relevant with viewers who are increasingly drawn to those bite-sized news sources, you know, the quick and the easy, like what you see on Twitter? So how have we kind of modified our approach?
Yeah, so that's a great question, because in some ways, in some of our platforms, we have not modified the approach. We still, our focus is that long-form content, and are putting it on our website in its entirety. We think that our archives is one of, like, we call it the crown jewel of C-SPAN, because it is basically the history of the U.S. and the U.S. government for the last 40 plus years. So we think there's real value in that, and people will use our resources and kind of decide that on their own. But in some ways, we definitely have adjusted to these different platforms. One was by marking points of interest. So if you go to one of our videos on the website, showing you, like, if you're looking for something that specifically happened and that was a big newsmaker thing on one of the hearings or something like that, or a speech, we'll probably have a star right there telling you how to find that. And also, we are on all of these other platforms, these digital platforms. So on Twitter, we do share videos, and we'll share a 5-minute or 10-minute video. You will still notice probably that the videos that we share are just the event, and it's just what happened, and it's not a little bit of us telling you what's going to happen, showing you 10 seconds of something, and then coming on afterwards and telling you again what you should think about what happened. That's not what C-SPAN does. That's where it's really important that we don't provide any of that commentary. So our videos are going to our videos are going to tend to be a little bit longer. Yeah.
And I will just add in on what Joel said, even if the videos are a little bit longer, but still like small portions, we typically always link a link to the full event so that you can watch it in its entirety and get like the backstory, the beforehand and afterwards on social media at least. Another question that we had, and this was kind of earlier on, so we touched on it a tiny bit, but they were wondering where they could access some of the historical recordings and things like that. And we showed the debate between Nixon and Kennedy, but with our website, we do have over 260,000 hours of content. So maybe if you want to talk about a little bit how they can go into detail and get some of those historical recordings.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's another thing that's really great with our archives is that it's all searchable, and that can be searchable by time period, that can be searchable by person, it can be searchable by topic, or it can be searchable by location. So if you know that something happened and you knew it happened in the Javits Center in 1995 or something like that, just as an example, you can kind of narrow down your search to things that happened there in that time. Or you can search, it's really great, we have different pages for all of these different programs. So if you really love our American History TV, you can go to their part of our website and you can see all of the different, whether it's, if for instance, you want to see the different previous debates and things like that, that might be under our Real America part of the website, where it takes historical footage or things like that, and we will rebroadcast that on C-SPAN 3 on American History TV. So that's a great place to go, and just to kind of, if you're interested in a certain author, you can do that, or if it's a certain topic, a lot of those topics will already have done the heavy lifting for you. So if you want to watch anything on the Civil War, there's a part of our website that you can click on, and it will have all of our Civil War programming. So a lot of those things. And as we get to anniversaries of different, whether it's the women's suffrage movement or the civil rights movement, we do anniversary coverage of a lot of those things as well. So we love all of that, and that's why we think our resources on our video library is so important.
And I will add into one of my favorite things. It's not video, but it used to be on our radio, and you can still listen in on the video library. It's the LBJ tapes. So if you ever wanted to listen to those, they are archived on our website as well, and you can listen to all of them in their entirety. And one person, I think this is John, just commented and said, that's over 29.6 years of video. Has anyone ever watched all of that? I will answer for myself, John. I will be 29 in November, so I have not watched it all yet, but I'm not sure if others have. My grandma might have, my mom might have, but I'm still working on it, John, so.
And I see that we have some Brian Lamb fans here. That's Thomas. I am also, I would say Brian Lamb is one of my heroes as well, so I'm with you there. And I love that you said you still can't tell if he's a Democrat or a Republican, and you asked if I know, and I honestly don't. It's really great to have someone like Brian Lamb as our founder. So if for some of you, if you don't know who Brian Lamb is, he's our well-liked and highly regarded founder of C-SPAN, who for many years had a major on-air presence on our call-in programs and our interview programs. And though he hasn't been on C-SPAN on TV much in the last couple of years, he does remain highly active and involved in all the facets of the C-SPAN operations, including most recently compiling past interviews and putting them into book form. So that book is called The Presidents, and it's really great. And he still guides our strategy and maintains a place of relevancy in, he helps us maintain our place of relevancy in our national media, even still today. And no kidding, I have, because of coronavirus, I have been working from home, but Brian still goes into the office most days of the week, at least 4 or 5 times a week. And his influence is really still strongly felt, and still, we all love Brian. So if any other Brian Lamb fans out there, we'll have our fan club meeting after this one.
That's awesome. And we have a few questions about our coverage internationally, and if we have any like sister companies. So John asked if we have any similar coverage outside of the USA, and we can probably talk a little bit about British House of Commons. And then Frank asked if we have a sister company or anything like that, or if there's one in Ireland that he should know of. So feel free to dig into that, or I can if you want. But
yeah, it's really interesting. So we do cover some international events like the House of Commons, or sometimes the Canadian government as well, as big events that are happening. A lot of that, though, we do cover through like our UN coverage as well, of like what is going on around the world, and different organizations that are international organizations. A lot of them have offices in DC, or talk or present at think tanks, and we cover a lot of that. So as far as our international coverage, that's kind of where it mainly focuses. Obviously, we cover tons of foreign policy issues and topics, so that's a constant thing on C-SPAN. However, as far as sister companies, we don't have any that we partner with like that, that were founded in the same way. And we will often have, back when we were in our offices, we'll have groups from international, organizations or things like that that will come through C-SPAN, and we'll give them basically this presentation of like, this is how we are, this is who we, what we do. And they'll often leave and they'll ask these questions about like, wait, how does this function? How do you, like, you don't get any money from the government? And we're like, why do you do it? And it's like, well, we do it because like, this is what we were created to do. And it's really interesting. So different people that will come in and look at us and see that they'll see the benefit of it, but they still have no idea how it actually functions. And it's really fun to have those conversations. I know personally, I've really enjoyed that. But yeah, so that's kind of, we don't have any of those international partnerships like that. And I see one of the questions by Andreas is what is our main funding source? And so our main funding has always been, and still is today, our cable and satellite partners. So like their locally Spectrum, we get 6 cents per cable subscriber. So that is how we build out most of our budget with cable sources, companies all over the country. Obviously today in the new landscape of cord cutters and things like that, we still are able to look for other sources of income. So if you have been on our website recently, you might have noticed some web ads on there, or if you listen to any of our podcasts, we've started having some advertisements on there as well. So to try to supplement our main income, but by far the biggest contributors have always been and still are today cable and satellite companies around the country.
Yeah, and I see one more question that is super important that Gerard brought up, which I'm so grateful for, and he asked if we have any resources or indexes for teachers. So I will quickly talk about that. On our website, cspan.org, we have C-SPAN Classroom, which is a giant resource for teachers that is completely free. It's filled with lesson plans and bell ringers, and all of the content is categorized by subject or by topic. So if you're a history teacher, but you're focusing solely on the Civil War, or you're looking for something like that, you can find videos that are based just on that, with not just the videos, but also questions and topics and discussions that you can have with the students. And again, if you just Google C-SPAN Classroom or go to cspan.org and type in /classroom, you can completely access that for free. We used to have it where you had to sign up for an email, but now with everyone working virtually and doing virtual learning, I don't even think you have to do that anymore. So it really is there and available for you. And also one thing that we have for students is a video documentary competition open to 6th through 12th graders. And they can work in groups and they make a 5 to 6 minute video on the issue of national importance. So this year the theme is, what do you want the president and Congress to address in 2021? And when I hear that, that means I can talk about whatever I want, right? So students can really talk about whatever they want for 5 to 6 minutes. And it's not due until January. So this can be a project that, takes months to do and you can work on it together. And again, the grand prize wins $5,000, but we have over 150 winners nationwide. So it's really a great opportunity for students and for educators and family members as well to get involved and think critically and make a fun video about it. So great question, and thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jenae. And I'll answer one more question that I see and clear up maybe a little confusion here. So we are not CNN, we are C-SPAN. We're the Cable Satellite Public Affairs Network. And so a little bit different. CNN is founded by Ted Turner and is headquartered down in Atlanta. We get that all the time because we start with the C, but we were actually there before CNN started. And then the follow-up to that question, though, the actual question is, how can you find all the UN coverage? And I'll show you, actually, I've pulled it up. All I did was go to our video library and look up UN. And so you can see right here, all of the United Nations videos that we have archived in our video library. So we've done 438 different events at the United Nations. And you can see every single one of those. You can see all the programs here. You can see every person. So if you wanted to search by the person and their name that has appeared there, you can do all of that as well. So just as a kind of a in the moment note, I just literally on our website just typed in UN and boom, it came up. So it's like I said, as much as possible, we try to make it as easy to use and make it to where you can find the actual videos that you're looking for. So, all right, do we have any more questions there, Jenae?
So I see, Andreas, you put in one question about the student competition. And if you guys were to support that, if we would showcase Rotary as a sponsor or supporter. So how it works, we had, I think last year we had about 3,000 videos come in from across the country from just about 6,000 students in total. And so we watch all of the videos and we pick 150 winners. Now, if the documentary itself included Rotary in it, then we would showcase it. So let's say the students came and interviewed you or interviewed Gerard or anyone or any Rotarian around the country, then we would obviously showcase that. But when we highlight the videos on C-SPAN, we simply say the student's name, their school, and their grade level. We don't say anything else. I think we sometimes put the cable affiliate that we're working in the community, but we don't really show any sponsors. But if the student wants to interview you, then absolutely. And we could have that beautiful Rotarian flag in the background, and that would air on C-SPAN and be on our website. So there's ways to work around that, but that's probably the best way to highlight Rotary and what you guys do in the community in the video. That would be the best way.
Yeah, and
if you
so,
know any students, tell them you're available for an interview.
Yeah. And support it. Retweet us. We've got a couple accounts on social media that you can follow about that competition as well. Someone asked where they can find more information on that. I just dropped a link to studentcam.org right there in the chat. And the last question that I'll take before we turn things back over is about the Supreme Court and their coverage. So we don't actually have any contracts with any of the branches of the government that we want our cameras in the House and the Senate and the Supreme Court. But for the House and the Senate, they actually are the ones that are doing all of the recording in the House gallery and the Senate gallery, and those cameras are not controlled by C-SPAN. For the Supreme Court, we are asking them if we could cover their stuff. We do that, periodically. But really, the barrier there is that you have to have all of the Supreme Court justices agree to allow cameras in the court, all of them. So the entire Supreme Court has to vote on that, and so it's only done by unanimous. So if you know any Supreme Court justices, give them a call, tell them that they should pick up our calls and let us air some of that. But saying all of that, we do really, really appreciate them allowing us to cover their live audio. That's again, that's a big step, and we're really excited about that. But we would love more access, because that's the thing that we do, and it's the First Amendment that allows us to cover things just like any other news organization. So now just to wrap up, because I really appreciate all of y'all's time today, and that's my Southern accent coming out. I'm pardon me for saying y'all. But before we finish our time together, let's just review just a few things. People always tell us it's difficult to find out what's going on or how they keep up. And so on any of the social platforms that you're on, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram, follow @CSPAN. From our website, if you go on cspan.org, you can sign up actually for any of our email newsletters, like I talked about. And then you can also, which we didn't talk about, but what you can do is you can register for a free My C-SPAN account. And when you've done that, basically you can mark any videos that you want to bookmark, and you can actually set reminders or alerts that whenever your member of Congress or any of your favorite authors are going to be on C-SPAN, you'll get an alert that they were, and you can watch it. So you don't have to remember all of that. We'll send you an email arriving later today with all of this information and more detail on how you can do all of these things to keep informed and stay engaged with other citizens, as well as keep connected to C-SPAN. So we really appreciate you all, and hopefully I was, I'm sure I didn't live up to the Jenae hype, but I really appreciate you guys paying attention, and those were some great questions, so I really appreciate that.
Thank you so very much, Joel and Jenae. Y'all were great. We really enjoyed you, and I now absolutely understand why I always enjoyed watching C-SPAN. You guys are a tremendous group. Thank you again, and also send my regards to Heath, who reached out to us and allowed for this presentation to happen. I will pass on the meeting to President Honorable Judge Schriffen to come to some final remarks. Gerard?
Thank you, Andreas. Joel, thanks. You did a great job. Really appreciated it. And Jenae, your help, great assistance. We're having a board meeting tonight of Rotary here in New York, and I'm going to bring up that issue, Jenae, that you mentioned about us sponsoring competition for students. Something we'll look into it, okay? I did notice in your bio, Jenae, that you are an alumnus of Virginia Tech, and both my wife and my oldest daughter are alumni of University of Virginia. So let me throw out a wahoo to you. Those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, University of Virginia, UVA, and Virginia Tech, a long time sports rivals. Most of the time, very friendly competition, most of the time.
Most of the time, yes.
But thank you again. I think you did a great job, and C-SPAN is a wonderful service for people who really need, and it should be all of us, to go to primary sources to get our information, because so much gets lost in the interpretation, as you mentioned, Joel, at the beginning of your presentation. With that, I want to mention, thank you again for those of you who have tuned in today, and the video will be available to those of our members and friends who are not able to tune in right now. I want to just remind you about our presentation for next Thursday evening. We have a world-renowned expert on China on a very, very cogent topic, an urgent topic. Those of you who are interested in the future of Chinese-American relations owe it to yourself to tune in next Thursday evening at 7 for the presentation by Professor Sarwar Kashmiri. who is a fellow of the Foreign Policy Association. His latest book deals with the Bridge and Road Initiative of China. China has a three-part plan to become the supreme superpower of the world. The first two parts have been completed successfully. The third part is the Bridge and Road Initiative, and they are well under their way. And the CIA specifically has cited Professor Kashmiri's work as being invaluable because he literally has gone into every single country where the Bridge and Road Initiative has been started and gives names, dates, facts, and figures. It's superb. I strongly invite all of you to tune in and to make sure that if you have any friends or associates who are interested in the future of Chinese-American relations, that you also tune in. With that, thank you, Andreas, for your help today. Hello to all of our members, Wilfred, Miklos, Frank, Tom, Julie, Larry, Helen. I know I've missed something. Alex, absolutely. Tommy, Valor. Thank you again, everyone. Tyler, Kalman. Thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to next week. And those of you on the board, we'll see you tonight at our meeting. Thank you, Andreas.
Thank you all.